What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I wanted to do something fun for the holiday season. A lot of you guys are familiar with, I'm sure, the Charles Dickens story, A Christmas Carol. What I'm about to do has almost nothing to do with that. It is extremely loosely based on that idea. But what I want to talk about today is the past, present, and future of the knife world. I'm going to tag a whole bunch of channels in this because I think it would be fun for everybody, that's kind of in my network to get involved with this. And at the same time, I'd like to, kind of expose some of my viewers to some of these other channels. And then I'm also going to tag some larger channels that if they want to get involved with it, they can. But it just sounded like fun to me. So we're going to talk about three things today. The past, which knives represent the beginning or the past for you. You know, kind of the knives that sort of got you involved in the knife world and just best represent your past, right? And then present, which knives best represent your current preferences? Which knives are just have you so excited, so happy to be a part of the knife world right now? And then the future, I think this is going to be the one that's really going to be fun to see what all of these other channels come up with if they want to do their own videos. What would you like to see in 2020? Which knives will you acquire for yourself, or which knives do you hope to acquire for yourself? There's always new stuff coming out in the knife world, and the knife world churns out stuff that we, might kind of need, and, most of the stuff is stuff that we don't need, but it's always fun, right? And it's always fun to hear everybody's different perspective. So I'm going to be tagging a whole bunch of channels in this. This is 100% an open tag. So if you have a knife or gear related channel and you'd like to get involved with this and you don't, I don't, list out your channel's name, don't worry, no problem. You can absolutely do it. So the channels I'm going to list out here: Alex's Knife Box, Nick Shabazz, Dr. Frunky, Birdshot 4, Ohio Knife Lover, Slicey Dicey, Stasa 23, Zach Stuff, Neves Knives, Love Them Knives, Patty's Potato Peelers, Nero Knives, Daddy-O EDC, Big Red EDC, Woodland Tactical, Gear Toward Gear, Blade Banter, Blade Banker, Eugene Kwan, Pocket Tank, Super Steel Steve, Carlos EDC, Blue Collar Survival, Jack Farmboy, A Therapeutic Edge, and Women Carry Knives. Like I said, even if you weren't tagged, please feel free to go ahead and make your own video. I will be making a playlist of everybody who does a video in response to this tag, where we can, anybody can come to my channel and watch them all in the same place. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start off here with my past. This is something that I have definitely talked about before on the channel. Those of you who've been around long enough will remember my, it wasn't really a review, it's just an overview of my first pocket knife, which is just barely hanging on. But this was my dad's knife, and it was his dad's before his. And thanks to Bob at the Knife Junkie, I now know that it's a Camillus Stockman, very old, but definitely a huge part of my past. And then I gotta be honest, I mean, and a lot of you are probably going to have, been in the same place as me when you started out here, but knives like this definitely shaped my past, or were the initial sort of draw to the knife world for me. And a lot of you know why I'm laughing here, because all of these are completely black. We have two black Tanto knives with serrations. Now, not this one in particular, but actually the Kershaw Blur really did honestly get me into this world. This particular one was a gift after I had lost my original, but I remember picking this knife up at Walmart because I was like, wow, this black Tanto, and it's serrated and it's spring-loaded. How cool, right? I mean, yeah, I gotta be honest, this is the kind of stuff that drew me into the knife world. Now, I got lucky. I chose a knife that a lot of people would say kind of exists between the Mall Ninja line and it's actually a really good knife line. It just happened to have the more Mall Ninja E-blade on that spectrum. But that definitely opened the doors up for me for the knife world. And there is still a nostalgic draw for that stuff. And I do appreciate it, absolutely. And it's not to say that the Tanto or serrations don't have their place, absolutely. So next up, present, the knives that are just driving my love for the knife world right now. A little bit of a glare there. Let's turn it this way. We're going to have the Civivi Praxis, the Microtech Combat Troodon, or Troodon, as people have been correcting me, with the Hellhound blade. Of course, the Hinderer XM18 3.5 inch Gen 6, the Ritter RSK MK1 G2, and the Spyderco Shaman. You guys, if you've been watching my channel, you'll know No, I just cannot shut up about any of these knives. The Civivi Backlash, what I consider to be the very best budget knife that exists right now. Such a fantastic blade. OTFs in general, this is just the current one, you know, it's just kind of like my ideal OTF. Just big and wicked and aggressive just because it's fun, not because I have any intention of using it in a malicious way. It's just, you know, it's cool. It's a big, crazy, premium double action OTF. So yeah, it's definitely driving my love. The Ritter RSK MK1 G2, the knife that I maintain, is probably, in my opinion, the point of diminishing returns in terms of an American production knife. This is one of the most recommendable knives out there with the Contour G10 scales, you know, that beautiful texture pattern, the amazing drop point blade here, this incredibly, you know, the thin ground, super slicey Ritter blade. Doug Ritter in general is somebody that we should be celebrating, but this particular model is just one that's, oh, it's just absolutely amazing. You guys all know that I base like everything, you know, any knife that's got good ergonomics, I have to bring up the Spyderco Shaman because in my opinion, it's just got one of the best ergonomic designs that are out there. And I just love this thing. Love it so much. I compared a lot of knives to it. And then, you know, how could I leave out, of course, the knife that I currently have labeled as Excalibur. This is a Generation 6 Triway XM18, 3.5 inch standard 165 stock 165,000 stock blade with the tumbled finish 20 CV blade. It's got the slicer grind and it's got the tumbled titanium textured scale. God dang, that's a mouthful, but I love this knife. It's driving my love for Hinderer knives. Like, I mean, it's just perpetual. You know, I have found my perfect Hinderer, but my love for Hinderer knives is just, you know, constantly, you know, just there's just a raging fire underneath it, and it's just Hinderer knives in general just make me love the knife world. So for the future, now obviously I don't have any relics from the future, so I'm gonna have to use the iPad here. But I can tell you, actually, first off, let me point this out. Let me give you a couple of examples of things that I really want to see in the future. Now, I don't have, this goes without saying. I don't have to say this. I love what's happening with the budget knife world. I want that envelope to keep, you know, continuously be pushed. This Tucson, I believe it's the TS41. This was lent to me by Neves Knives. This is such a fantastic example of where the budget knife world is right now and what it's capable of. We have contoured and even some micro milling on the titanium frame. We have a carbon fiber inlay. It's running on bearings. It's got some garaged external stops. I don't know if you can call it external. They're technically internal. And then this beautiful satin finished blade. I mean, a lot of what you're seeing here, it would lead people to believe that this was a much more expensive knife. But no, this is a knife that costs, to my knowledge, like 60 to 70 bucks. That's amazing. And then even our American budget knives, like what Kershaw's doing with their USA line. Now, I know, you know, that you guys know the one I'm going to refer to as the 20 CV version of the bare knuckle. This version of the bare knuckle, I think, comes in something like 70 bucks. But I would love to see some less expensive US-made budget knives. And I would love to see steels like 20 CV, you know, like we saw it in the bare knuckle. And I was like, oh, I'd love to see some of those more high-end steels kind of fall into the budget world. And that might be kind of a big wish considering what a lot of that stuff costs. But hey, I never thought that I would see a 20 CV blade at 100 bucks made in the USA, and I definitely never thought I'd see something like this for 60 bucks, and it happened. Next up, this is also a wish that's probably going to be shared by a lot of people. I would really like to see the knife laws against automatic knives in a lot of states and a lot of areas around the world get loosened up. I think that's a pretty big wish. If anything, it's probably more likely to go the other direction, but I live in Kansas, and I'm fortunate enough to carry like whatever I want, but I know that there are a lot of people who can't carry this stuff. There's people out there who can't even own automatic knives, so that sucks. I would really like to see knife laws loosen up because almost every single person out there really just wants to carry something like this as a tool of convenience, and it would be really nice to for that to be a reality. Okay, now it's time for the iPad. I'm going to directly blame Nick Shabazz for this one. These are in my knives that I hope to acquire in 2020. This first one here is the Holt Spectre V3. That one that Nick got, oh my God, that thing that he got, I've watched that upload so many times. I have been drooling over that knife. At some point, I would love to acquire a Holt Spectre, but even if I get the funds together for this thing, acquiring one, I've heard, can be kind of a predicament. So this is a hope. It's not a guarantee. It's something that I would love to acquire for myself We'll see if it happens. Next up, this is kind of random, but I kind of realized after handling, actually I have another knife in here that would serve as a great example. The knife that Jeff gave me, this is the ProTech Strider S&G in titanium. And of course, after handling what a lot of people refer to as the Strider Co., I've realized that these ergonomic lines really appeal to me. So I was like, man, I really would like to handle a Strider. And I remember thinking, it'd be so cool if there was like a flipper, you know, like a titanium frame lock flipper version of that. Mainly just emphasis on the flipper. And I was like, oh yeah, Marfione and Strider actually collaborated and did an MSG. And I found out after looking them up, the current version, the MSG 3.5, is actually an integral. So we have a flipper, a titanium frame lock integral that's a flipper that's on bearings that has Strider elements and Marfione elements mixed together, right? This compound grind and the thumb hole and all that stuff. Of course, I've actually found out that the base prices on these things for custom knives aren't that bad. Now, I mean aren't that bad compared to what you would normally expect to pay for a Marfione custom. So this is definitely something that I'm planning on chasing down in 2020. And then moving on here, here's a wish. This is a crazy wish, but again, it's like there's a lot of stuff in this knife world that's like you'd never think would exist, but it does. So I'm going to make this wish. I don't care if it's ridiculous. And this is the kind of thing that I want some of these other channels to do. One of the coolest styles of knives that has existed in the past is the stiletto swing guard. It's a very classic style, and something you know that I've found to be a trend lately is you know, people like that old things, you know, or old styles being applied to new styles. You know, people like that. I mean, take the automotive industry for example. Old muscle car styles being applied to modern designs. That's hugely popular. Absolutely, I would very much like to see a modern tactical swing guard stiletto. Now, I know that there are a few custom makers out there who have kind of messed around with this, but I would really like to see like a production, you know, like if ProTech took a stab at it, you know, pun intended. That would be super cool. For anybody who's not familiar with a swing guard, most people are. If you ever seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that weasel who wore the green zoot suit, that knife, right? The cross guard actually lays down here on the side of the knife, and then when you push the button, the blade fires out the side like a standard side opening automatic, but the swing guard comes with it and creates this amazing cross guard, giving it this perfectly symmetrical look. Right now, I think, is it AGA Camplin making like the really high-end stuff? I would love to see a modern tactical version of this. Like, I'm just thinking like if Zero Tolerance did this, or ProTech, or I don't know what Riot and Wee's stance is on doing stuff like this, but I would just melt to have a super high-end production tactical swing guard automatic. I know that's a crazy dream. It's probably not something that's ever going to happen, but I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I wanted to see from these other channels. So the point of this, it really is, I you know, really enjoy the content that you know, a lot of these other channels have been putting out, and I legitimately do watch their stuff, whether they are way bigger channels than me or way smaller channels than me. I really enjoy it, and I you know, if I can help drive some traffic in as many different directions as possible, then absolutely that's something that I want to do. But anyways, like I said, if you do decide to create a video, let me know either on Instagram or here on YouTube, and I will add it to my playlist. But that's going to be pretty much it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.